All right. Good afternoon. My name is Adekunle Adeyemo, and today I'll be presenting to you one of the Seedcorn food projects sponsored by MDENet. So it's titled AI-powered DSML for rare diseases, and we have a couple of distinguished collaborators for this project. My humble self, Mehdi, he is not here today. All right, Dr. Otto, um, Dr. Stefan. um, so basically, I'll be running through the agenda for this presentation real quickly. So first of all, I'll be talking about the motivation for this project. Then I'll be talking about the aim and objective for this project. Then I'll be going through some technical bits which involves the system architecture, the chain of transformation, YAMTL model transformation, YAMTL declarative rules, and I'll be showing you some results for this project. And finally, I'm going to conclude and talk about the future works. All right. All right. To understand the motivation of this project, I'm just going to explain a very simple scenario. So oftentimes we have a group of patients which are administered to a cohort, and they are being diagnosed for rare diseases. So we have medical practitioners, clinicians collect data samples, and they rely on medical researchers to discover this data in order to make predictions for them to manage these rare conditions of these patients in the cohort. So these medical researchers, what they do is they create a user-friendly interface in order to interact with this data gotten from the medical practitioners. So what this prototype um, does is to automate this process of creating these user-friendly interfaces for querying the data and allowing the medical researchers to focus more on discovering this data, analyzing it, and making valuable inferences from the data. So for the aims and objective of this project, basically is to produce a proof of concept. Is to produce a proof of concept low-code platform for developing optimized queries UI for rare diseases. And the objectives carried out in order to achieve this aim involves, first of all, developing a domain-specific language, and writing some declarative rules for transforming UI models with YAMTL. Then the semantics of this DSL was implemented with React. Okay, so this is the system architecture. Uh, to explain this, I will just use a simple scenario. We have a data set. This data set, like I explained earlier, is a collection of the properties of this of the patients with these rare medical conditions. Um, so we have two basic interfaces. We have the data admin page and the query UI page. These are both just user interfaces you can see. So you upload your data set directly via the data admin page, and this Spring Boot application um, implement RESTful APIs that stores the data set in the file service. Then in the case of the medical researcher trying to automate this process of generating this query UI, uh, it sends requests to the Spring Boot service, which talk to the YAMTL service. I'm going to talk about this in the next slide. So what it does is get hold of the data set that's already on the file service, perform some transformation, and generate an instance of a DSL that can drive this part. The front end was developed with React. So the instance of the DSL generated um, drives the React code to generate query forms. Right, so this is a closer look at the YAML service. And these are a few transformations performed in YAML service. So now we have the CSV file. And what we do first of all is to extract a descriptive statistics from this CSV file. And from the descriptive statistics extracted, we then make inference of a presentation model as the DSL code that is generated. So the DSL code generated is used to drive the React front end, as I showed in the previous slide. So also from the data set, we also still extract what I call edit properties. So basically, these edit properties are properties from the data set that we can map to the UI element. Taking a very simple scenario, we might have, let me say, a categorical variable, and we are having a data of close to 200 entries. That does not really make sense mapping it to just a basic drop down, because you have to go through all the elements in the drop down to find what you're looking for. But we can map that to like a search. So the extracting these properties, we're going to have option of a search for typically those kind of columns. Then having like a numerical column that we're having a standard deviation that's very minimal. We can assume, in a way, assume a continuous variable. So we can map that kind of data to like a range. Or if we're having like a very dispersed numerical data, we could map it, we could obfuscate the data first of all, and map it into like a drop down. All right, so these are the meta models. These are the meta models that were derived from interacting with domain experts. So basically, this is this meta model of the statistics. This is statistics meta model. So we can see basically we're modeling just basically two types, the numerical type and the categorical type. For the numerical type, we take more. We talk about properties like the mean, the max, the mean value, the standard deviations, and stuff like that. Then this part is a meta model for the presentation model. Actually, this is part of the presentation model because the meta model itself it's a bit more complex than this, but it's highly scalable. So most of the other UI entities can be expressed in terms of inheritance from what we have here. So this shows an instance of the statistic data model that I showed in the previous slide. And this is the resulting instance of the presentation model. So with the help of YAML, we're able to specify declarative rules that can help transform these statistics generated from the data set into UI components. So part of what we did in the introspection of this data set and talking with and having open conversations with domain experts is to understand the types of data we normally have in a in the data set for that particular domain. Like for example, now you can see this is cDNA data. You can see we're having different sequence, and this is what it is. It is mapped to this kind of input, which has the nomenclature of HGVS. So entering in the later slide, I'm going to show some validations attached to this type of input. So also here we can see the numerical type, which is mapped to the range kind of input. And it also has the mapping, declarative rules in the mapping have some smart algorithms in order to detect the type of data that the column possesses. For example, it's easy for you to detect that this is a DNA sequence from the statistics, and also you can detect that this is a demographic kind of data, because it involves birth in the naming. So this is just an abstract view of the mapping involved. Okay, so this is transformed to this UI entity with the help of this mapping. Oh, apologies. So also we have this mapping as well. All right, so the query construct from the UI is being represented in this form, pure JSON form. You can see that for the DNA sequencing, we're talking more of the Boolean logic. The similarity which was selected here is being submitted as the query. And also we can see the same thing for the demographics. But it's okay, like I said earlier, we have some validations like this. We can see the input entered here is not a valid HGVS sequence, and the transformation is able to detect the errors and apply validations for it. Also, although we're trying to automate everything, but we also left room for some human intervention in the generation of these user interfaces. So we could have the algorithm generate a range, but by human introspection, they might decide that I would want this to be a free input. So they have so there is a user interface for editing the UI generated, which you can see here, renaming it and changing the type can help us generate a new UI on the go. Yeah, so part of the implementation also involves visualizing what we have in the data set. For example, we tend to check for, because most of the data set I've gotten have not been claimed in a way. So we can see, for example, this having 100% type of number, and this having 27% undefined. So we can easily tell which the percentage of integrity of this data set. So this is a use case of a full, this is a use case of APK mock data set. This is, before now, the use case I used was just a smaller data set. Was scaling up a bit. You can see the system also adapts that manner. All right, so finally, I'm going to conclude. You can see this prototype has been able to help us bridge this gap faced by the medical researchers in having to generate this user interface by hand, or because the automating ability of this prototype helps them facilitate the process. So some future works that we're still working on for this prototype involving machine learning to efficiently detect these genomic data types, as well as integration of query optimization techniques for these data types. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?